Well, here we are. Hawkins Mansion. The place has been abandoned since the fire. There's only old Winchester in his hut.
He's clearly not doing any gardening.
You know, Silas Winchester has been working for the Hawkins family as far back as I can remember. Charles was like a son to him. The day of the fire, he lost his whole family, so he's got nowhere to go. And, as you'll see, in a way he's still watching over them. Is there anything else you want to ask me? Or do you want to go up there?
I prefer to be prepared if there's going to be trouble.
It's a wise attitude. But apart from old Silas and some rotten floorboards, there's nothing to worry about.
Could he be a problem?
Strictly speaking, he ain't dangerous. But since the tragedy, he's been a little touched. Though, he's a remarkably sturdy man, given his age. A true force of nature.
A sad old man doesn't worry me.
Gee, if you don't want to listen to my advice, we might as well go. Right?
I see no scorched trees or fire damage on the building.
You're pretty damn observant, ain't you? The fire was quickly contained. Old Silas acted as soon as he could.
Not soon enough to save the Hawkins.
They were trapped in the drawing room. And don't go troubling Silas anymore. His guilt torments him enough as it is. Are we gonna take a closer look at this mansion, or do you have other questions?
You won't get me to believe that it looked any better 3 months ago.
It's a very old building, you know? Its foundations would probably date from the arrival of the first settlers.
It's got nothing to do with Charles Hawkins' debts.
Ha! You've already begun to nose around, it would seem. So, since you already know it, the Hawkins family couldn't afford the upkeep of this house. It remains to be seen what they did with all their money. I wager it was Charles Hawkins' travels. Let's go up there. Unless you still have questions.
You're the one who looked after the Hawkins case.
Don't think I was trying to hide it. It's just that this discovery shakes my convictions.
That's why you're so keen to find out who removed the painting from the mansion.
Yes. If something escaped us, or if there's been a law enforcement error, then it's up to the police to make good its mistake. Anything else?
Night falls quickly here, and I want to be able to see when we arrive.
I'll go with you, if only to reassure Silas.
Why not? You can help.
Right. Let's go.
Someone is using the fireplace. I suppose that this is where old Winchester lives. recently fallen. It's as if all life has abandoned the place. Bradley was right. This place is much older than I imagined. I'll have to find another entrance. This entrance is still in use.
Whoa! You were trying to force the door, you nosy prick!
Easy, sir, all right? Put down the axe.
You know what we do with rubble like you? We gut them! Dump them into the ocean!
Whoa! You're Mr. Winchester. Lower that axe. Let's talk calmly.
I'll show you how we have it out on Darkwater. What do you think you're doing? So talk, and no baloney.
The police report describes a domestic accident, but Stephen Webster has several reasons to believe that this may not be the case.
Webster is as stubborn as an old mule. And I did tell him that we should let the dead rest in peace.
He wants to restore the reputation of his daughter. I just need to see where the fire started.
The mansion isn't safe. You would break your neck as sure as you're trying my patience right now.
That's why you barricaded the entrance.
That's right.
And this door?
It's locked, and I make sure it stays that way.
The sooner I carry out my investigation, the sooner I wrap up the case and return to Boston. After which, you'll never hear of me again.
I like the sound of that, but I have a better idea. You leave right now, and you never come back.
Silas! Pierce! In God's name, what are you doing?
Officer Bradley, this hood was trying to break into the mansion.
Do something, Bradley, or this story will have a nasty ending.
I vouch for him, Silas. He's working with us. We have reason to believe that someone entered the mansion and stole some paintings.
Impossible. I would have seen it.
Better safe than sorry. Now let us in. I promise to keep an eye on this one.
Okay then. I'll leave the key with you. You could have told me that earlier, Sonny.
Let's see what more I can learn from this mansion. I know a thing or two about solitude myself. Rather Spartan. The caretaker has simple tastes. The poor wretch seems to spend the best part of his time isolated from the world.
Piers, shall we enter?
Poor kid. Poor kid. Poor kid. Someone must really hate Charles Hawkins.
I told you. Silas Winchester is still watching over the Hawkins family.
I must say, it's pretty gloomy.
So, Detective, does this place inspire any thoughts?
Why were they buried here?
I was given to believe that it was Charles Hawkins' wish.
Strange idea. I imagine Webster wasn't too pleased.
Mrs. Hawkins' father? It's said that he's devastated.
Do you know if Charles Hawkins had any enemies?
Not to our knowledge. He was a well-respected personality on the island. I don't understand. Silas would never have let such a thing happen.
Let's go to the mansion.
Please give me a minute. I didn't expect to set foot back here after the burial. What kind of deranged individual would defile this sanctuary and steal a burnt painting?
The flowers on Sarah Hawkins' grave are fresh. The old caretaker must be very attached to her. The caretaker takes great care of these graves. The caretaker takes great care of these graves.
Now that you finish your fun and games with Silas, we can perhaps inspect the mansion.
You're right. Let's go. Let's take a look inside.
I'm with you. Follow me. I know the place. Who left this light on?
The Last Supper of the Hawkins. What does this tell me? kind of meat is this? This place is for the head of the family, Charles Hawkins. The boy was probably here, smashed his plate on the floor. Sarah Hawkins' plate. Why did she leave it untouched? Something happened at this table. An argument?
Pierce, daydreaming again?
Working, officer. This dinner table tells us a lot about the Hawkins family life.
Well, we don't have all day. The scene of the fire is next door.
Sarah Hawkins and little Simon. The perfect picture of the middle-class family. Sarah Hawkins and little Simon. The perfect picture of the middle-class family. Was Charles Hawkins some kind of explorer? Too much rubble. I'll find an easier way. They seem happy, but Charles is already looking off into the future. His marriage just a stop along the way. They seem happy, but Charles is already looking off into the future. His marriage just a stop along the way. Let's see if I can find something the cops missed. Was Charles Hawkins a heavy drinker? Did Sarah Hawkins lose one of her shoes? How? Did it stop at the time of the fire? The child's corpse left a trace. Where are the others? They had a fight. Why? If the painting I found on the docks really came from here, how come it didn't burn? Did someone escape the fire? Blood. This lamp was thrown. This was no accident. This was a fight. Someone fell here. A desperate attempt to flee. And the boy.
So, Detective, what do you make of it?
Much of this evidence simply contradicts the investigation's findings.
Really? Tell me about it.
I found a bottle of whiskey. Empty.
Well, that must have been a loss for you.
No glass. I suspect one of them drank heavily to calm down. Charles, most probably.
That's pretty thin. Who says that bottle hadn't been there for a while?
I can tell where young Simon was, but not his parents. Where were their bodies found?
I can't help you on that one. Charles and Sarah's bodies had already been carried away when I got here.
Without your authorization? By whom?
Marshall, Andrews, Chief West. We never deal with cases like that, you know. So... well...
I was under the impression the fire started around midnight.
yes, Silas banged on our door around 1 a.m. Poor devil ran so hard he was almost belching his lungs out.
This clock burned before 10 p.m.
That's... impossible. What you imply? Silas never would have hurt the Hawkins family. Besides, Dr. Fuller confirmed the hour of death in his report. Your clock must have already have stopped.
Dr. Fuller?
A brilliant surgeon, and a friend of the family. I'm sure he took the matter to heart. So, excuse me if I value his opinion over yours.
So be it. Let's move on. It would seem at least one person fled the crime scene.
What you say?
That mark on the door. Someone's hand slid down there. The left side has no mark. The door was open and that someone left.
For God's sake. I mean, if it's Charles or Sarah, they wouldn't have left their son.
They would rather die in the flames as a family instead of calling for help? I don't buy it.
Oh, yeah?
I suspect this lamp caused the fire.
That's what the investigation suggested, too.
But does your report mention the bloodstains? The lamp didn't fall, it was thrown at someone.
For heaven's sakes, no. The report doesn't mention that.
I firmly believe this fire was more than just an accident.
Huh. What's your theory?
Someone deliberately set fire to this mansion.
You sure of that?
There's only one way to be sure.
I just ask that you don't disturb anything. If Chief West found out about what we're doing, I'd be in serious trouble.
This door is locked. This door is locked. These bandages are covered in dried blood. The same bandages that I saw in the warehouse on the docks. And given the bloodstains, I'd also say that it's the same person. The lyrics of the drunken sailor, a sea shanty. An original edition of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, dated 1818. An original edition of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, dated 1818. Moby Dick, Melville's classic. The epic battle between man and whale. Mandatory reading for any whaler, I guess. This piano is in disrepair. Looks like the Hawkins kept it more for decoration than for music. This place was falling apart long before the fire. A book on the first inhabitants of the island. It seems they got here around the 14th century. This piano is in disrepair. Looks like the Hawkins kept it more for decoration than... What do you know about Charles Hawkins' activities?
Well, not much, to be honest. We all assumed the Hawkins lived on Charles's inheritance. If you're right, we should be able to find clues among the Hawkins' personal effects.
Darkwater history. This place was settled back in 1692 by two families that seceded from the New England colonies. A book on hunting whales, the island's staple diet last century. One of Sarah Hawkins' paintings. Her style sure is recognizable. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Another story about the mysteries of the deep. One of Sarah Hawkins' paintings. Her style sure is... A book on hunting whales, the island's staple diet last century. Greek mythology. Hecate, goddess of the dead, daughter of Tartarus, and mother of Scylla. What could Sarah have done to make this person threaten to call the police? Locked. This door is locked. The boys' room. A child's fort. From what threat was Simon protecting his world? Tom Sawyer. Mark Twain. Sarah must have read it to him before bed. Sleeping pills. Strong for an 11-year-old boy. What was wrong with this family? What nightmarish vision could have inspired them? Simon's troubles went beyond family problems. That kid saw something. Something terrified him. What will her room reveal about her? Perfect. Was Sarah Hawkins interested in the occult? What was she trying to achieve? This ledger lists all of the paintings Sarah Hawkins sold. It seems the last one was given for free to a Francis Sanders. I wonder why. Sarah Hawkins' agent was getting worried. Seems she wasn't giving any signs of life. Bradley? Is that you? Is anyone there? You! Stop! Bradley, did you see which way he went?
Who? I didn't see anyone. I just heard some noise. Are you all right?
A man was hiding on the upper level. He ran when he saw me. He can't be far.
I'll cover you.
This door was closed earlier. Where did he go? As if the bookcase has been moved several times.
Do you really think that your fugitive came in here? I don't see any way out.
This globe seems to have been part of some mechanism. Doesn't work. Seems like this came from a log. As if the bookcase has been moved several times. It looks like an old Seaway map. Looks like the navigational paths described in the log. Clearly, Charles Hawkins knew Captain Fitzroy very well. I wonder who the man with the glasses is in the photograph. The Scylla. It's the boat that was stranded at the entrance to the harbor. This panel is movable. Cogwheels. They must be linked to an opening mechanism. Probably a secret passage. I must find a way to activate the opening mechanism. Damnation. I can't budge these gears. I need a tool. I'd be better off not touching them for the moment. Have you seen the old maritime maps on Charles Hawkins' desk?
Strange. No ship has left Darkwater shore for years. Maybe he kept them for sentimental reasons.
As if the bookcase has been moved several times. Doesn't work. I must have missed something. Looks like the navigational paths described in the log. Doesn't work. I must have missed something. 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 Doesn't work. There must be a link with the Seaway map. Doesn't work. I must have missed something. Doesn't work. I must have missed something. Looks like the navigational paths described in the log. Doesn't work. I must have missed something. It looks like a freehand map of Darkwater. Certain areas have been highlighted. I wonder why. The Scylla. It's the boat that was stranded at the entrance to the harbor. I'd be better off. Doesn't work. I must have missed something. Doesn't work. I must have missed something. Doesn't work. I must have missed something. There must be a link with the Seaway map. Charles Hawkins was a sort of traveler, right?
More like an adventurer, I guess. He left for months, exploring remote places and abandoned temples.
They look like Celtic runes. Charles must have brought them back from one of his foreign trips. Charles Hawkins was keeping her father's letters from her. Looks like the navigational paths described in the log. damn it. Looks like the navigational paths described in the log. I'd be better off not... As if the bookcase has been moved several times. Doesn't work. I must have missed something. Looks like the navigational paths described in the log. The Scylla. It's the boat that was stranded at the entrance to the harbor. Have you seen the old maritime maps on Charles Hawkins' desk?
Strange. No ship has left Darkwater shore for years. Maybe he kept them for sentimental reasons.
Doesn't work. I must have missed something. 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 must be a link with the Seaway map. Looks like it worked.
Well done, Pierce.
Charles Hawkins was a sort of traveler, right?
More like an adventurer, I guess. He left for months, exploring remote places and abandoned temples. Secret passage, under the manor.